So our next speaker is Rosie. Rosie is one of the project implementation managers at Connected Knots. Rosie, can I hand over to you for your presentation now?
Thanks, Sally, for that introduction. So just to, I suppose, give a little bit of a background. So yeah, I'm Rosie and I work in Connected Nottinghamshire, a programme that is based within Nottinghamshire Integrated Care System. And really it's been our sort of strategic approach, I guess, to digitalise patient services. And that has been through really giving them access to digital tools that can connect people to the information that they need when they need it. And I guess we've kind of been on this journey since roughly around 2019. And the way that we've been achieving this is through utilising the national NHS app and offering patientsknowbest to give our population access to a really holistic view of their health and care across a number of different providers within our ICS. So next slide, please. So our approach then, embedded within our strategy, we have an approach that we want to make sure people feel in control, supported, informed, and really involved in decision making and the tools that we're trying to offer people. And I suppose two key elements that are really essential to successfully achieving that is obviously effective communication and engagement. So I'm going to be going through some of the initiatives and activities that we've done to really promote and inform our workforce and also our population around this. Next slide, please. Just to start off, so I guess our communication sort of timeline and activities have really developed over time. So at the start of our journey, during what we like to call our transformation sort of stage, we focus quite heavily on understanding the needs of our population, not only really to grasp what it was that they wanted from digital health technologies, but also to understand actually the best ways to communicate with them that was effective for them. And following that sort of initial type of research, we moved on to undertake those communication activities using different techniques to promote the functionalities. And then from now moving forward, we're really beginning to sort of streamline those plans to work within a world that we're now living in, really due to COVID. Next slide, please. So as mentioned previously, I think our strategy really focuses on that NHS app as a single front door and then integrating patientsknowbest into it. So our first priority in terms of comms was to raise the awareness really of the NHS app and start to get our population registering for it, so that actually when patientsknowbest had been integrated, there were already users using the NHS app and they'd already completed that first initial step. So a key resource that we used was NHS Digital's communications toolkit. They had lots of really great information on there around sort of posters and leaflets, got these professionally printed and then circulated to our GP practice across our region to help them really start telling their patients about the NHS app. We provided them things like appointment cards, they had scripts for putting on their telephone lines and text messages, even sort of videos and animations for waiting room screens. And this was all really part of a process to sort of begin to drip feed that information to people to make them aware of it, really. Next slide, please. So alongside that NHS app promotion, we really adopted the approach of taking health to the people and not the other way around, really. So we looked at, based on that initial research, looked at engaging with people that wouldn't normally participate or take an interest in health. So focusing on going to environments that people actually went to. So whilst we did go to GP practices, hospitals, we went to colleges as well, small town markets, job centres, and even local events like our local beer and cider festival, which was purely work focus. So yeah, these were really engaging and great activities to undertake, to actually begin to speak to people that, like I say, we wouldn't have normally spoke to. We were able to get people registered, so on that first step, and was just a fantastic method of reaching people. Next slide, please. So not only has it been vital to communicate with our public and population, internal communications has been essential as well. Across Nottinghamshire, the NHS is really one of the biggest employers of people, particularly with the fact that we've got 2 hospital trusts within our region. So we've done quite a lot of work to try and inform our workforce and staff members, encouraging them to really sort of take up the app, so they can be our biggest champions to then support and help others in registering for the NHS app and Patients Know Best. We've done this through sort of a number of different ways. We have regular key messages, emails that's sent out to all stakeholder organisations that are then embedded within their own organisations, sort of bulletins and newsletters. We actually participated in some hospital walkarounds and type of lunch and learn sessions to speak with individuals. And one of the really great things that we've done is establish a system-wide communication and engagement focus group that is specific for all of this work to bring together the comms experts across our provider organisations to help sort of disseminate information and also utilise them as key assets and comms experts to know how we are able to push out information in better ways to their patients or service users. Next slide, please. So for us, it's been really important to get senior leadership and clinical buy-in to all of this work. And we've seen a huge increase in uptake figures when we've had that senior and clinical buy-in. So actually our ICS clinical director has been a huge driving force, particularly on social media when it was the height of COVID. She took to Twitter and created a mission to get people registering for the NHS app and Patients Know Best to basically look after their health and care during COVID, but also to support the NHS in a really critical time. And just through that one individual, we saw a huge increase in numbers. So it's really, really vital to get that clinical and leadership buy-in. We've done a number of other things as well, engaging with enthusiastic practices and practices across the region to be involved in local press releases and also case studies, which have been published in, like I say, local press offices, both online and in newspapers. And this is, again, just another activity that we tried to undertake to get the word out there in different formats, really. Next slide, please. To really support us in communicating with one voice, because we are using the NHS app as that single front door, and also Patients Know Best, obviously, to provide the fantastic additional features and access to services. We decided to we took the decision to create our own branding, really, that uses both PKB's toolkit and the NHS app's toolkits to create our own suite of materials. And this, for us, has helped us keep sort of consistency across the published sort of materials that we have, and is helping us sort of drive forward other external communications. So the things that we've had produced, there's some examples on the screen, but we have posters that have gone out to practices. We have repeat sort of prescription leaflets, both for GP and also secondary care prescriptions, roller banners, social media images, and things like that. And we've also had the creation of our dedicated website that really communicates what all of this work is about, that's public facing. Next slide, please. So digital marketing, obviously, in March 2020, the world changed quite dramatically in a matter of days. And actually all of our communication activities that we had planned, our traditional communication activities, were no longer appropriate. So we worked with a digital communication and marketing company to go out to digital means of marketing. So we worked with them to create radio adverts and also a social media campaign that lasted roughly 4 to 5 months, I believe. And they helped us produce digital assets like animations and videos that we've now been able to pull into our own communication suite and resources that practices and secondary care can use. So it's been a really great push in communicating out to a wider audience. Next slide, please.
Rosie, I know we started a little bit late, so I'm giving you a bit extra, but if we could start to wrap up in the next 5 minutes, that'd be perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely. I think this is probably one of the biggest ways that we've communicated PKB's features is through a in-app notification through the NHS app. We saw a significant amount of new registrations to patientsknowbest following this app notification being sent out to people. Next slide then, please. The COVID vaccination hubs. So they've been a really fantastic way and opportunity to promote the NHS app to a really captive audience. We've had posters there talking about the COVID passport, but also just the NHS app in general. And individuals at those sites have been really sort of supportive in getting people registered. Next slide, please. Co-production and design, I just wanted to talk about around how we're working with some expert organisations, HealthWave and the Patient Information Forum in particular, to look at exploring how we can best communicate with people and gather the opinions of people from typically hard to reach areas around how they're best to be communicated with. Just because our initial research done previously is probably a little bit out of date now. So we're working with some fantastic organisations to help us push forward with our comms activities. And then I think the final slide is just about our future approach, and there's just some key elements in there that we're looking forward to progress in future. I think whilst we've done quite a lot of comms activities to date, actually it's been one of the challenges we've found is that it's been quite a struggle because we don't actually have dedicated comms resource, but now thankfully we have got that on board and within our programme, and we're hopefully going to be pushing forward with our comms approach in the next few months. So I will quickly leave it there now.
Thank you, Rosie. That was great. And apologies for rushing you through a bit at the end, but I think that was really interesting and everyone will have taken away a lot from that. I have to say that I think the comms that Nottingham has done has been some of the best we've ever seen. So please do pick Rosie's brain because they've done a fantastic job at their internal and their external comms. So I'll give everyone a couple of minutes to get their questions in, but please do ask away. I was going to say, Rosie, the NOTS NHS app website that you guys have pulled together, I think is fantastic. And we have already, I think we share this with other customers as an example of something that's so good. Would you mind if I pop it in the chat shortly so that people can have a nose at it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Here we go. So we've had our first question come in. So many ideas there from Rosie that I'm now planning in my head. Good. That is what we hoped. We need a big push on awareness and adoption. Did you promote internally to clinicians or just to patients?
No, we definitely did both. I think it was we worked with sort of what we call exemplar sites initially to really sort of get that adoption within particular GP practices. And then we're working with a whole host of clinicians in other trusts to really obviously see how we can embed patients know best within their own pathways. But what I think is key is obviously getting that senior buy-in. So if you work across the ICS, it's having that strategic approach and knowing that actually this is the way forward that we're wanting to be working towards. So, but definitely internal and external is really key.
Cool. If any more questions come in, we'll pop those in the list to circulate afterwards. Rosie, thank you so much. That was so interesting. And having been with you on some of this journey, it's so nice to see it laid out over the slides. I think it gives a really good idea of a lot of the work you've done. So thank you so much.